My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Electricast. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host for this podcast, Claudia Monticelli, and welcome to Let's Talk Soul. With the podcast Let's Talk Soul, we dive into the mystery and essence of the soul. And without claiming to know it all, we offer enlightened insights and entertaining stories, really, to deepen all of our understanding. So Let's Talk Soul as a podcast is your gateway to unraveling the soul's mysteries in an engaging and thought-provoking way. Why not? Get ready for riveting conversations that challenge, entertain, and enlighten. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the talk and conversation. Welcome aboard. Now, today I have a very interesting guest, Lisa Boate. Lisa Boate is talking to us today from Ontario in Canada. Lisa, say hello to our guests.
Hi, everyone. So lovely to be here today.
And it's her birthday today, so we have to treat her nice. I won't throw her any curveballs or anything like that.
Oh, please do. That could be really fun.
Okay, so who is Lisa? Lisa Boate is a menopause coach. And of course, the first thing we think about, geez, let's talk soul, menopause. Where are we headed? She's a consultant, and she's also host of the Transforming 45 podcast. She has a background in education. She specializes in empowering women through the challenges of midlife. We all know, the men by now should know, especially if they live with a woman who has gone through that. She works with the challenges of midlife, including perimenopause and menopause transitions. Her mission is to transform workplaces into menopause-friendly environments, fostering understanding, fostering support, and empowerment for women. So through her podcast and coaching, she provides guidance, resources, and inspiration for women who navigate this transformative phase of life. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Now, let me just throw the question to you. First of all, let me ask you how you became involved with this and what, because you said, and we mentioned that you have an education background in education. So where's the link there?
Well, that's a great question. And it gets actually right to the heart of how menopause connects with soul in this whole conversation. Mm-hmm. And it really is, it's a bit of a winding road, but as you said, I was an educator for 20 years.
Oh,
and yeah.
Are you going to say you got sick of it? I'm waiting for that.
Well, the truth of it was, it never was a good fit. I loved working with kids, but the system, the education system itself, I was always pushing against.
I see. In
because
what way?
They were
In what way?
Oh gosh, in almost every way. Like the education system
Yeah.
Here we go. Here we go into the education
Here we
conversation.
go.
But it was a system built for another time, right? It was built for the
you got
Industrial
that right.
Revolution.
You're right.
And it was meant to create humans who were the same, who would do the same thing.
Cloning.
And that, exactly.
Right.
And that is not who we are on this planet.
Okay.
We weren't then, and we certainly are not at this time. And so I always felt really uncomfortable in the structure of education.
Let me just open a little parenthesis here. Do you have children, or did you have children during that phase of your life?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Was that a catalyst as well?
The catalyst part of having my own children. So one was like, the student that the system was designed for, and he sailed through.
Yeah, right.
Right. The other was a very different learner than the system supported. And so I held him as he struggled.
Sure.
And it's really hard. Actually, even just the other day, he was saying so he's in grade 12 now. He's just about to graduate from high school. And he was railing about how much he hates English.
Oh.
And the depth of the emotion that was coming up, I was like, buddy, do you think that there's some unresolved trauma in that? Because his whole, from the time he was in kindergarten until he was in grade 5, the message he received was, you are not smart enough. You are not good enough.
Yeah.
And you don't belong here. And that was not true. I knew him inside and out, and luckily know enough about how brains actually learn literacy to understand that he was going to be just fine. He just needed more time. But that is part of what formed his identity. And that is what schools do, right? They either have a really, if you're someone who fits in the system, it's supportive. And if you're not,
I'm listening to you, and I experienced the exact same thing. God gives us a child. If you want a child, you get a child. And then she, God, sends another to make you know that you're normal. Because usually and I have the same situation. I have a scientist. The first was a scientist, would read everything, even the phone book. And the second one, he was included in a small group of 5 kids and was stigmatized as the slow learners. And, and so we would draw pictures on the kitchen walls so he would remember what history was all about. It was terrible. It was terrible. And of course, he was a musician and has a different form of learning, but you and I and everyone who's listening has also gone through the system without even probably questioning. So let's take the jump to the menopausal period and linking the learning process to that.
Yeah. So as I got to the last sort of decade of my career, I was actually a coach and provided professional development for other educators. And that meant I was getting very close to the power source.
In what sense? I don't understand the power source.
So that meant I was working for the board of education.
Oh, the powers that be. Yes.
Correct. Yes. And so when you are a woman who has opinions that are perhaps contrary to those who are trying to hold the system in place, it makes for a fiery sort of place.
Uncomfortable.
And at the same time, as I've come to understand now, but didn't know at the time, is that I also was experiencing perimenopause at the same time.
How long afterwards did you figure that out? Was it apparent?
It was when I was doing. It was when I was doing my menopause coaching certification, and I was reading and I was learning, and I was like, I have this and this and this and this.
Yes.
And all
Yes.
like I was always, spicy.
Yeah.
But in my last few years, like I just would feel this rage.
Rage.
I was like, where is this rage coming from?
I could
yes,
kill.
it's annoying,
I know.
but it was
No more
all
patience.
consuming.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so it finally led me to a place where I realized this is no longer a space for me. Like I literally,
Yes.
in my very last year, I literally was placed in a closet under the stairs teaching grade 6 online. And if that is not a message from the universe,
but it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. Yeah. As you were speaking, I was thinking when I was here in the house screaming my head off, he went quietly into the bathroom with the encyclopedia and looked up menopause. This has to be that. She's going nuts. And then he would very timidly come to me. Claudia, I just read that.
It's true. Like there's just this fire that burns on the inside.
Well, isn't it?
Like,
I mean,
emotionally, physically, all
exactly.
Of it.
It's so life-changing, but so remarkable. Now, when you were in that period, okay, under the stairwell online with this, and you decided this is it for me. Did you also go through a spiritual awakening?
That is a great question. And I'm trying to find the right word to...
Yes.
Because it wasn't an awakening, because I have always known my entire life that I was a spiritual being.
Okay.
Like when I have all kinds of memories of when I was little, of being able, of communicating with spirits. I didn't necessarily know that that's what it was at the time, but I do remember the first time I was telling a story about like communicating, and it became very clear to me that like, oh, actually that's not everyone's experience, and I am making people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So there was definitely a quieting of what I was able to do. And then I, lived in a very academic world, and that was part of the discomfort that I felt, and that I never felt like I was really able to be my whole self in that world. Yeah. And as one of the things that I'm really coming to understand, and it's why I call my program Finding the Magic in Menopause, because it is this time where we get to reclaim the pieces of ourselves that we abandoned.
Yes.
And so at that time, it just became untenable to continue not being my full self.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And there were, messages from the universe that were constantly showing up to say, Lisa, it's time. It's time. Like, stop denying, stop suppressing. It's time for you to be all that you were always meant to be. And then there were the physical signs as well. Like my hair was falling out. I was having panic attacks and anxiety attacks and crying, and like the grief that I was experiencing was overwhelming.
Grief.
And it was the combination.
Why grief? What was after a death, or was it grief for something that I've never heard of the word grief linked to this period, but I can understand.
This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Whether you're selling a little or a lot, Shopify helps you do your thing, however you cha-ching. From the launch your online shop stage, all the way to the we just hit 1 million orders stage. No matter what stage you're in, Shopify's there to help you grow. Sign up for a $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/special offer, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/special offer.
Want to teach your kids financial literacy, but not sure where to start? Greenlight can help. With Greenlight, parents can keep an eye on kids' spending and saving, while kids and teens use a card of their own to build money confidence. As a parent, you can send instant money transfers, set up chores, automate allowance, and more. It's a convenient way to run your household, customized to your family's needs, and the easy way to raise financially smart kids. Get started with Greenlight today and get your first month free at greenlight.com/Spotify.
Yeah. So there's grief on lots of levels, right? So there's the grief of, well, I'm on the other side of everything I've ever imagined for my life. So there was that part of like, but I'm this, like, I'm this person. And so now what? There is, for me, there's grief wrapped up in, I lost my mom when I was 30. She was 52. And so now I'm approaching. Thank you. Yeah, it was. Yeah. So and my youngest, sad. My youngest was 1 month from turning a year old when she passed, and my oldest was not quite 2. So there's, lots of grief wrapped up in how that death ended up really shifting who I was.
Oh, sure, of course.
And then the grief of knowing that I had abandoned myself for so long.
Now I understand. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That grief of, one of the things I do with clients often to say, like, when is the last time you remember being fully embodied? And what did that actually feel like? Right. And we go through the sensory process.
Do they ask you, what do you mean? do they usually
often.
What do you mean?
Yeah. Like, when's the last time you actually remember feling? Because we get
wait. Let's go slow here. This is really important. Now, tell us what you mean. So walk us through that fully embodied, full embodiment. What really does it feel like, or how could we describe it?
So for me, the example I use is that one of the times I remember is being 17 years old and laying on the grass in my favorite place in the world. And the sun was on my face. And so I was feeling, I can still smell what the grass smelled like. I can feel the warmth of the earth underneath me. I can feel the sun's rays on my face. I can feel that feeling of knowing that my friends were all around and I was loved and held and because I have such sensory memory of that, that is for me how I know that I was completely in my body and present to that experience.
So this is interesting that you describe it as an incident, an occasion when you were immersed in a natural setting that helped you, or perhaps was the catalyst for that feeling. It's interesting. Because then it triggers the memories and thoughts of your friends and love. That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah, it is. It's called an anchor, right? So we have these anchor experiences that we can, like I just recalled it so clearly. And when I recall it like that, I can feel the emotion that goes with it, right? And as we go through our lives, we have experiences that are uncomfortable and makes being in our bodies less comfortable. And so
wait, I'm going to pin you down for another example.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's say, what kind of occurrence would cause that? Apart from strictly menopause, let's sort of.
Oh gosh, yeah. I mean, that's right from the beginning of every time, like even going back to that very childhood memory where I realized, I'm telling the story and I am not getting a great response. Right. I realize there's something happening here. Or when you are, in a relationship with somebody and you start getting those messages of well, you're not good enough. Right.
Wait a minute.
So there's
like this, I didn't catch it before, but you mentioned 17-year-olds. You were a 17-year-old when it happened. And then in your description, you said, I felt that I was loved and my friends were around me. And curiosity, was that a moment when you had a special relationship? No. She's shaking her head, ladies and gentlemen, for those of you who don't have the benefit of video. She's saying no.
It was, and that's part of that time is so salient for me because it really was before all of the people and the events and the things that happened that made this body less comfortable to be in. Right. So it's all the places where you end up abandoning yourself or denying yourself to make either yourself more palatable to other people or make other people more comfortable.
So it's sort of seeking external, what do we say? What am I
validation.
Validation, right. Okay, so let's jump ahead. We're no longer 17. We're, hop, skip, and a jump, and you have 2 children then, right? When did you start your present practice and your podcast?
So those 2 things are really intertwined because like I said, my kids had gotten to sort of their later teen years and my identity had really been wrapped up in being a mother and being an educator. And so suddenly these roles start falling away in the intensity, right?
Oh, yes.
I released the educator.
I remember one of those children of yours, is in Italy now. Are they still in Italy?
So he is now actually in Dublin.
Ah, okay. Boy, I missed that one.
Well, he's been on a tour. He was in Italy when we spoke, but he is now in Dublin and he's actually coming home next week. So that is exciting for me.
Anticipation. Carly Simon there. Carly Simon moment.
So those roles that we define ourselves by start falling away.
Yeah.
And that is where the power of midlife is, because all of the roles that we have been playing fall away and they leave us with the truth of who we are. Who we actually are.
I have to say, it was very bold. It was a big, bold decision to start a podcast about things people don't like to talk about. I mean, they don't like, no one likes to talk about menopause. I had an example when I went very, very late menopause because my mother had also, and I was dating someone, and my friend said, "Oh, don't tell him that you went into menopause." I said, "Why not?" And it was, and she was a younger woman, and I thought I couldn't figure it out. What would they care? I mean, unless they wanted children. And I don't think that was the case. It was odd. It was very odd. So what was that moment that not the hair or whatever that broke the camel's back, but what was that that déclenché, that moment that said to you, okay, this is it, I'm going to start talking about what I'm doing?
Well, it was not really a choice.
In what way?
It was literally like dropped into my body this is what you're doing now.
Oh, how?
And I don't really know, like all things universal, I don't really know how to explain it. And it's funny because people will say that to me, like, you're brave, you're so courageous for making this change and taking this on. And I'm like, I don't feel brave or courageous. I just feel like it's the way it is.
Necessary.
Like this, yes, this is a space. I say this often. I feel like it is the work of women of our generation, right? Like we stand on the shoulders of those who went before us and the topics that they, and I feel like this is ours.
Yeah.
And maybe uniquely because, we are shifting, our society has shifted and changed so much that the aging process is very different.
Can I ask you when you started your podcast? What year was it? Do you remember?
2020. Yeah, November. I do. Joking. November 2022.
So very recent. Good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is it a weekly, monthly? How
it is a weekly.
Yes. It's very much work. It's a lot of work. It really is. And people don't realize how much work it is. But
it's true. But it's also really joyful.
Yes, it is. And you learn so much. Has it changed from the first episodes to the recent episodes? Have you noticed a sort of development in some way?
That's a great question. So the first sort of episodes that I did were just myself.
Right.
And so and now I interview people. I have gotten better at helping, that's what you do. The more you
pulling
do something.
teeth, having someone talk who doesn't want to talk, or having
luckily
them interact, in a way that puts them. There's an expression in Italian. There are a few that you bought a bicycle, now you have to ride it, or you're on the dance floor, you gotta dance. Because a lot of people who present themselves or offer themselves as guests come with a list. I just wrote a book. I have to, I'm going to talk and promote my book. And it's boring in a way without talking. It's about a plot where you talk about the plot, but not about the people. And this is difficult, isn't it?
Well, so I haven't really had that happen because the first question I always ask
good for you.
is, who are you and how did life introduce you to this version? Ooh. So there's no choice but to talk about your experience and your story.
I mean, do people just clam up after that, or do you give them a heads up before they start?
I give them a heads up before. I'm like, I do not want you to think about this too much.
Okay.
I don't want you to overanalyze it. This is the first question I ask, just so you know. And it has been a very revealing question, and the conversation always ends up being whatever it was meant to be.
Yeah. And I'm just thinking back, I was on your podcast and you had asked me that questions, and it's as if I'm,
yes, I did.
coming out of the clouds because I don't even remember that.
Well, when you do this, right, when you're in the audio medium all the time, everything does sort of blend together. No, I totally
happens.
Get it.
Yeah. And now I'll throw a little curve there your way, a little curveball, because when we talk, I recently had a conversation with a person who did talk. He wanted to talk about. He's a coach and he helps people develop in a way their own personal development, just like your question says, who are you and how did what was the other part of the question?
How did life introduce you to this version?
Right. So the thing is that when I mentioned spirituality, he said to me, well, spirituality has become what all other trends, or the oil slickers, what was it, snake oil sellers, or what do they call it, or the holy rollers, or the it's starting to get that characteristic to its spirituality, and I hadn't thought of it that way. And I'm thinking, because you're obviously connected to a divine, I don't even know if I could say source, but something that is divine that links to your own divinity. Can you say in clear conscious, very clearly that you are doing what you are meant to be doing? Or do you have any doubt about that?
Feel your max with Brooks Running and the all-new Ghost Max 2. They're the shoes you deserve, designed to streamline your stride and help protect your body. Treat yourself to feel-good landings on an ultra-high stack of super comfy nitrogen-infused cushion that takes the edge off every step, every day. The Brooks Ghost Max 2. Technically, they're a form of self-care. Brooks, let's run there. Head to brooksrunning.com to learn more.
Life is hard, but finding a really great podcast makes the days go by so much easier. Hi, my name is Blue Telusma. I'm a writer, an emotional intelligence coach, and the host of Humanized with Blue Telusma, a podcast where we believe that when you humanize everyone in the room, a great conversation is almost guaranteed. Join us every week here on Electricast as me and my guest co-hosts unpack big topics and interview even bigger personalities with a sense of humor and a dash of mischief. If you're looking for a new best friend in your head, we've got you covered. Electricast.
I have no doubt. I know. When I, look back at the trajectory of my life, I can see how now every experience that I had prepared me for this journey, for this phase, for this work.
Right.
And it just feels, I can feel it in my body that there is deep alignment for me, that this is exactly what I was meant to be doing.
Now, there's room here. I mean, this is who you are today, and there obviously is room because who Lisa Boate is tomorrow, we don't know, do we? Right? So
we do not.
It's a work in process. Right? Did I say that right? Work in process? Progress?
Yeah, it is a work. It is
progress.
a work in progress. And that's, that's where the freedom is.
Yes.
Right?
You can make mistakes.
And when you stop identifying with the roles that you have played and you actually give yourself the space to be who you actually are.
Yeah.
Right. Which is not mother, which is not educator, which is not wife.
Yeah.
The truth of who I am is visionary, creative, thoughtful, loving, courageous, brave. Though that is who I am.
Wait, I'm going to ask you a terrible thing. I'm going to ask you a terrible thing.
Yes.
What's the biggest recent mistake you made? Recent. Because we all make mistakes, right?
We do. So this is going to be a hard one for me to answer because I just reframe them.
I know.
It's not terrible. It's actually a really great question, but it is it's the reframing of it as, well, I just learned from that.
Yes, of course.
But
how bad was it? How bad was the mistake? Was it a no return, or that you have to completely overhaul your system, or the way, I don't know. I'll give you an example, okay? You dealt with a client and you did whatever you usually do, okay? But in that case, it just didn't work, and it went counter to what you had expected to happen for the client. I'm just talking here. I don't know exactly, but, and you were not cross, but you were disappointed in the fact that you couldn't read the cues. I mean, something like that, where you failed, you failed in that case, that's happened to me numerous times. And, you do learn from that. But has it happened recently?
So I would say outside of my business, one of the areas that I am working through is, relationships that are challenging.
Oh,
and
yes. God.
And staying true to myself. And I'm sorry, I'm just having a serious deja vu moment.
Ooh.
Yeah. Pay attention.
Yeah.
I need to pay attention to what I'm saying right now, apparently. But yeah, like I have a relationship with my father that is really challenging.
Oh, yeah.
And
well, they are. The relationships with relatives, they are. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I continue to do the easy thing.
Mm.
And I was having a conversation with a friend. Like for me, the easy thing is like, fine, I'll just do it.
Yes.
Right. Like,
yes.
So
you're right. You're right.
He decided to move in 1 week with zero plan.
Oh, good for him. A brilliant decision.
Because
how far?
Who's going to do the move?
How far away?
So,
oh my God,
an hour and a half.
Oh,
right.
Okay,
right. So the easy thing, even though it's like upended my life this week, it was easier for me to just say, fine, I will do this. I will figure out the mover. I will figure out all the stuff. I will just do it. For me, that's the easy thing. Mm-hmm. Where the true thing would have been to say, you made a decision without consulting or thinking about any of the repercussions, and you're going to need to figure that out.
You wanted the bicycle, now you have to ride it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So that I would say is where I have a continued mistake, where I continue to
enabling
and then
enabling instead of I don't know what the other opposite of that is, but I can understand that. Well, let's say that we as persons, going back to the notion of being embodied, when you are embodied, all kinds of crazy things happen, good and bad. You have all these emotions and fear, grief, sadness, pain, happiness, joy, so it's a roller coaster ride, which is called life. And not many people remember that life, this is life. And you're not going to be resting in peace until you are,
Yes.
And my husband's one of those. He just, I can't take this. Okay, well, you know what to do. And it's amazing how we forget. We forget that. What is it with age? Yeah. Does it come with age that people, I can't take it anymore. I can't do this.
So, Yes, I do think. I think you get to a point, and I can speak to it from my woman perspective as well, right? Where I have been told a story of who I should be and how I should look and how I should show up in the world. Like I've been given that story over and over and over again. And it gets to a point where it is just too exhausting to continue to try to create this character. Right. And live as a character rather than actually living as myself. And it took all of the life experiences, the good ones, because those are the ones that teach you like, oh, this is what it feels like when I feel like myself. It takes the hard ones when you realize, oh, this is what it feels like when I am not myself. And so it takes, I think, all of that experience before you get to a place where you're like, F this, I'm not doing this anymore. I am too tired.
Well, let's put it this way. But there are, life is full of other things, like the Carly Simon moment that's coming, the anticipation of seeing your son again. And who knows how much he's going to talk and what his emotional teen years have made him experience and how privy we are as mothers to that. But still, it's exciting. It is exciting. I don't know, another moment for it, I don't want to revolve around children, but the presence of another generation close by is just so harrowing, good and bad. I have these two sons. One's close by, another is about 2-hour flight away. Now I know that son with his family is coming in the summer, and I cannot wait to see them for a week. But if and I know, I've got to cook and do all,
Yeah, all the things.
And so, there it's like a double-edged sword, this being a mother business, like you said, menopause is liberating, and the liberation, they don't know how liberating it is. Why should I babysit?
Yeah, it is. And it that is what makes some of the relationships tricky. Like this is one of the conversations I have with folks a lot, is that it's not just you. Like when you start showing up as your whole self, then the relationships are going to naturally shift and change, because there were people in my life who are uncomfortable that I decided to live outside of a mainstream career, for lack of a better word. Right. Yeah. So, and it's me showing up as the fullness of myself is it's showing something to them that they either are about themselves, that they either are attracted to or not. Right. So when I will say I'm very proud of the two men that I have raised, because they have been, when you suddenly have a mom who's talking about menopause publicly all over the place, they could have had a very different reaction. Oh gosh. And they didn't. Oh. They were so supportive. Yeah. And I still, one of the most powerful moments for me was not long after I had, resigned my career, and my youngest kid looked at me and he was like, "Oh, there you are." It was like, lovely. He was seeing, right. Like he was seeing me. She's back. Yeah, in a way that he hadn't in a really long time. Yeah. And so that was a very affirming moment of when you step into your power and when you step into your truth, people see it, and it will change relationships in one way or another. Yeah. I have my two sons. They don't know who they're talking to at any one given time. Who is she today? Is she's the, is the businesswoman? Is she the coach? Is she the, hands-on practitioner? All this. So, one time I said to my son, my oldest, I said, Lorenzo's his name. I said, I have to say, I don't know how old I really am. I don't even think of it. He said, Ma, that's dangerous. That's dangerous. And I said, well, look, the wheel turns for us all. So you're right behind me. Yes. Yeah, I know, but it's true. The number. So today I am 47. Right. So that's the number. And I also don't feel like that at all. I feel, or whatever our construct around 47 is, but that when you're 74, it will be exactly the same. It will be exactly the same, even better, like wine. Yes. Yeah, I know. Exactly. Like I just am. And all of the measurement tools are exactly that, right? There's earthly structures that we need for organizational purposes on this weird planet experiment that we are engaging in. Yeah. But the truth underneath all of that is I still feel like the best. I now feel more like myself than I have in a long time. And it's that beauty of reclamation, right? And knowing that I am doing it for generations of women who came before me. Good for you. Good for you. Lisa, I could talk to you all day. Unfortunately, I'd like to now repeat where you're from and where you're going. All right. She has an Instagram account that's at LBoate, BOATE. LBOATE. She has her podcast that's called Transforming 45. You can find it on all podcast platforms. She also has a Facebook group. You could look for her. What would they look for? Lisa Boate? They can look for my Facebook profile. And the group is called From Loss to Liberation, Embracing Life Beyond the Nest. Good. And she has a website, www.liberated,
menopause.ca for Canada. Thank you so much for coming. It was delightful. Now I would like to suggest you put that podcast to work. Take notes on things that come up, that emerge, and who knows that in the near future we'll be seeing your name in Amazon. We're going to see your name in a book.
There is a book. There is a book
Good
percolating.
for you.
It's
Good.
true,
Good.
yes.
All right. After that comes out, we'll talk again, Lisa. Thanks
That
again.
sounds great. Thank you so much. This was really
nice
fun.
to talk. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Don't forget to follow Let's Talk Soul podcast on Instagram. Let's Talk Soul podcast is a production of Electrocast Media. Our executive producers are Mark Netter and Peter Rafelson. If you like our show and like what you hear, please subscribe and give us a rating wherever you enjoy podcasts. And remember, stay curious, stay inspired, and never stop exploring the depths of your soul.
Hey guys, it's Miriam Love here, and I want to share something very special with you. Check out my new release, All In, the Spanish remixes, out now on Electrocast Records. And always remember, be love, share love, all love.
Available now wherever you listen to music.